Hey number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today we have a little bit of an unscripted, completely informal video. So rather different to what you're used to. I'm going to be a lot less precise with my wording and vocabulary to what you're used to. But this is more a friend to friend sort of video where I'd like to talk about content creation and sponsors. It's a big topic. Let's go. Hi, welcome back. So on this video, I'd like to give you something. I'd like to give you a little bit of an insider's perspective when it comes to sponsors, how they're managed, how they contact us. So by the end of this video, you'll know things that normally as a regular watcher or someone who doesn't have a channel who's not a content creator, information you might not normally have access to. First, I'd like to get some advice from you when it comes to the sort of brands that I work with, because I also want to make sure that you are happy with the sponsors that appear on my platform. Two, I'd like to talk about the responsibilities that we as content creators have towards our audiences when it comes to the sort of sponsors that we decide to work with. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about some sponsors that I always refuse to work with. So of course, the fact that I'm going to say it publicly means that that's going to be absolutely definitive, and I'm okay with that. And I'll also tell you why. Of course, I'm not a massive channel, but still, the volume of proposals and sponsorship opportunities that I get in the mail is significant. Now, as you probably know, due to the recent development when it comes to the demonetization that I suffered on my channel, I have been looking in a bit more closely to the sort of sponsorship opportunities that might come my way. Now, for those of you who haven't been following me on Twitter, and you totally should, I'd like to give a little bit of an update in the sense that, yes, monetization is back. I have received the physical pin in the mail, everything is back to normal. Regardless, for someone who does content creation as a full-time job, well, AdSense is fluctuating all the time. You've got great months and then you've got horrible months. So of course, sponsors are a good way to compensate for that. Well, I'll give you an example of a few brands that have failed this step when it comes to me, and one of these is established titles. And of course, the fact that I'm naming them publicly here means that I will always be precluded from working with them, and I'm absolutely fine with that. So the reason why I have a problem with the likes of established titles is because what they do is what I would consider to be a barely legal borderline scam. So, at least in my opinion, for any lawyer out there, just my opinion. So I'm not saying that they are 100% a scam, but I'm saying they are really there on the line. And therefore, regardless of the amount of money that they offer, and they have tried to persuade me in the past with really good amounts of money, I can't really say the exact numbers, but big numbers. At least for me, I'm not freaking Mr. Beast, so for me they were big. So because they failed the first step, I'm not going to go into the second step, which is the one where I discuss the fees, so whatever offer they make is irrelevant. And the reason why I do this, I'm not trying to virtual signaling here, really don't like their service, I don't think they're transparent, I don't think they really explain to you well what you're doing. It's, as I say, to me it's an almost scam, so I don't want my audience to fall for that. Another sponsor that has contacted me in the past is Masterworks, and here's another one I need to talk about. Once again, Masterworks is this kind of like financial investing platform similar to Robinhood, which is another one that I will always say no. They haven't contacted me though. No point, Mr. CEO, just don't contact me because I'm not going to do it. So Robinhood is a platform that allows you to invest in stocks, and Masterworks is a platform that works kind of similarly, but they help you invest into works of art that are sold in a similar way, so in shares, to stocks. Now, the reason why I say no to the sponsorships to these services is because I am not a financial expert. So this is a different situation than established titles. It's not that I think that Masterworks is a scam. From the research I've done, doesn't seem to be. But the reason why I would never do it is because I do not understand finances. I do have a little bit of money invested, mostly Tesla. Not financial advice, by the way, just my own personal decision, just a little bit. I do use the platform Robinhood. I would never... Hey, camera died, professional YouTuber. We are using my wife's camera now. Been doing this for 10 years, I still haven't learned that you need to charge the freaking battery. Anyways, I was saying, so when it comes to these sort of financial ones, here's the situation that I think whenever they approach me. And oh gosh, it makes me feel so bad just to imagine it. Imagine you've got like a subscriber to the channel, they watch my content because they like the sort of deep research that I put into my videos. And at one point during the video that they're watching and enjoying, there is a sponsor. And this sponsor is, say, Masterwork. And then I say, hey, sponsor, you know, this is great, you can... excellent opportunities for making a lot of money, because that's what they usually want you to say. You should totally go check them out, get whatever percentage off, make your investment today. Say that I said that. Now this person thinks, hey, I kind of like Metatron because, you know, he usually knows what he's talking about, and in this case he's kind of pushing this thing, so you know, I trust him. I trust Metatron. I really think I wanna do this. So they go and take, let's say, $10,000, that it's all the money they have, to their name because they worked hard for it and they invested on something. Now here's the thing, I don't know the first thing about that sort of investment. So let's say that they invest that, and I mean, if they make a lot of money, great. What if this person loses everything they had because they trusted me? Well, that would be on me. I mean, for what? For making some money off a sponsorship? Never. Never. And that's the reason why on this channel you'll never see that sort of financial advice, because I don't understand it, and if I don't understand it, I don't want to push it. Let's go into games. Since the very first day that I received a sponsorship on this channel, which happened many years ago, I've always feel, very confident when it comes to video games, simply because I am a hardcore gamer. Given I'm a little more old school in the sense that I'm really very much into retro. That's what I do. I've been collecting retro games since I was 13, but I also play new games. I'm very up to date. I play a lot, and I always have. Which is one of the reasons why I decided to open, little announcement here, a third channel called The Protectorate, which is all about games, and that's where all of my, from now on, historical reviews of video games, old and new, will be. Now, given it's a bit more focused on 80s and 90s nostalgia, because that's when I grew up, but there will be new games as well. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and it will be fantastic to see you there. I won't be posting very often on it, but I'll post very high quality and high production content. You should totally check it out. But going back to the idea of working with sponsors that, are games, whether it be a small indie game studio, whether it be a massive giant, imagine like StarCraft, Blizzard contacting me, I would jump on it so fast, is because I enjoy games and I play them. There are a few things that we need to say though about games, because it can become controversial and it can become problematic. Now when it comes to console gaming and PC gaming, does the creator have to actually play the game in order to be able to show the game on their platform? I don't think so. Well, I think they need to play it in the sense that they need to play it a bit, maybe a couple of weeks, so that they have an idea and they can talk about the game from experience. It doesn't need to be like my favorite game for me to give some space to a company that is happy to support my channel in exchange for that. Now, of course, it would be better if it's a game that I heavily play, but on the other hand, I think it's okay if it's a game that you play, you try, and then whether you continue playing it, which has happened in the past after the sponsorship, or whether you stop, it doesn't really matter to me. The only thing that is important to me in that case is that whatever you say, you mean it. And another thing that for me it's more important than how much I play a game is that it fits my channel thematically. So if it's a game about the ancient Romans, Vikings, medieval period, civilization, strategy, then absolutely, match made in heaven. So normally speaking, exception being very odd cases, I won't be talking about a game about Barbie in Disneyland, or I don't know, the newest Grand Theft Auto or FIFA. But the real question here is the concept of mobile gaming. Is it okay for a creator to talk about mobile games? Well, here's the thing, with mobile games, well, a lot of people freaking hate them, but it is important also to underline that a lot of people play them and like them. And I personally, in general, although we do need to talk a little bit about gambling, and I will in a second, which is the one problem that we do need to address, but in mobile games, I don't really have a problem with them and mentioning them on my channel, mostly because not everyone can afford a gaming PC, not everyone can have a console, but loads of people have phones, and if they want to enjoy a game and I can find a game that they might like and also make a little money in between, I don't see a problem with that. The only problem is when we approach situations that close to gambling. Now, you know that the majority of mobile games these days have pay-for-win aspects, and there are a lot of microtransactions within these games, some of which come in the form of loot boxes, wheels of fortune, and the likes. Now, we do need to be honest, this is not exclusive to mobile games, it's just something that happens a lot in mobile games, but even a great game such as Overwatch, the first one, not that failure facade of the second one. It's a game I love the characters, but it did have a lot of loot boxes, and as an adult, in the past, I have occasionally taken like a 50 bucks or 50 euros and said, hey, I'm gonna have some friends over, let's open some loot boxes and have fun. As long as it's done responsibly, and you're an adult, I don't have a problem with that, even though it is a form of gambling. It's not really that dissimilar from having a poker night with your friends, as long as it's done in a responsible manner and you know what you're doing. Now, mobile games have that a lot. As I say, comes in different forms. I have recently actually had an email exchange with a possible sponsor for a mobile game that I play and I like a lot. So I was really happy, you'll see who they are soon, and I was really happy with them contacting me because I'm like, that's great, I play the game, I like it, and so it's going to be good to show it to my audience. But they do have this aspect as well, just like all mobile games have, gacha games and all of that situation. So I talked to them on this email, and one thing I did, in my opinion is the right thing to do, is I told them specifically, because you have these sort of aspects in your game, I am going to mention them to my audience. I'm going to tell them that this is a form of gambling, that they need to do it responsibly, and I also specifically asked the game to allow me to talk about the percentages, which are often a little shady when it comes to these games, because you see something and you think you have a certain chance at getting an object, but in reality you had only 0.0002%, and then you keep trying to spend money in gems and all the different currencies, like in Genshin Impact, which is a great game when it comes to gameplay, but the level of microtransactions in that game and all different currencies specifically designed to confuse you. So the one thing I want to make sure is that whoever accesses the game, maybe through a sponsorship out of mine, and I'm talking about this game that I will mention in the future. The reason why I'm not mentioning them now is because we are still in the process of discussion. But one thing I did say, I need to be able to tell my audience, any aspect that is connected to gambling, please make sure only adults do it, and please make sure to do it responsibly, and here are the percentages. If they accept that, I'll work with them. If they deny it, I won't do it, regardless of the money offered on the table. Now, in the past I've worked with Raid, Shadow Legends, and I know that that game upsets quite a lot of people, which is why I've actually refused them, I want to say 8 or 9 times, something like that in the last few years. I got to give it to them, they are tenacious. Keep trying. But it's not necessarily because I had myself a problem with them, and at the end of the day, it's just like another mobile game, I suppose, in my opinion. I don't know, if you disagree, please let me know. This is also one of the reasons why I'm talking to you. I know that people dislike that game. It's still not 100% clear to me why that one is singled out, since to me it looks like all other mobile games are doing the sort of microtransactions. So if you do have a specific reason, please let me know. But yes, I have been saying no nonetheless, because what you think matters to me. And this is not just a situation whereby I just want your views so I can make money and that's the end of it. No, I want to establish a rapport. I want to make sure that you feel that you are treated like the friends that you are to me. Also considering all the incredible support that you've given me during this entire demonetization nonsense situation that I had to go through. Another situation that used to be a problem with sponsors, but luckily is not anymore, I don't think, is scripted content. So a thing the sponsors used to do was to send a script and they wanted you to repeat it verbatim. Now, it's not that people don't know that that was the case. People understand, people are not stupid, but then again, I think it's important to be able to use your own words, and luckily, one thing that I can say as a content creator is that in the last few years, all sponsors that have contacted me have dropped this idea of sending scripts to creators. They just give you bullet points, they tell you what specific aspects of their games they want you to mention, which I think is fine because, I mean, they have a PR department, they have R&D departments, of course, they know their game better, and perhaps if they're investing money and budget into a new event, or a new skin, or a new type of class, or whatever the game is, or stages, they want you to mention that. I have absolutely no problem with that. But they luckily have understood, the sponsors, probably thanks to you and the push of people in comments, that people want to hear what the creators say and what the creators think, and people don't appreciate creators having to read a script. You just want to use your own words, and that's what sponsors want you to do these days. So to me, that was a big plus, and it's something that has made my work and collaborations with sponsors a lot easier. Now, of course, people need to keep in mind that it is a sponsored section. So if you're being sponsored by DuckTales, you're not going to say, oh, DuckTales is horrible, guys, absolutely stay away from it. I mean, it would be kind of silly to expect someone to say that. But on the other hand, I think it's important to stay in the middle, in the sense that you don't want to go to the other extreme and say, oh guys, I really love DuckTales, I've been playing this game every day, all day for the last month, and then it's not true. That's not okay with me either. So to me, the way I do it is, if there is something that I don't particularly like about the game, usually I talk to the sponsor about it, and as long as I do it in a non-negative, excessively negative light, they let me do it. But of course, I also mention the things I really do like about the game, and I make sure to say stuff that I really think. And to me, that's a good, balanced position. But now let's talk a little more about these contracts before we get to the actual end of this video and the final message. Of course, I can't read contracts to you. There are legal reasons why I can't do that. With that being said, though, I can tell you a little bit about these contracts. And one of the things that I like to say to every content creator, aspiring content creator, or maybe channels that are a little smaller than mine and still haven't had a chance to work with sponsors, but perhaps you've been receiving emails and you've been thinking, maybe I could do it, and then you get to the contract. What I'm about to say is no legal advice, of course I'm not a lawyer. Make sure to read every contract thoroughly. And if there is something you don't understand, ask a lawyer. In my experience, I almost never had to ask a lawyer, it only happened once, but in general I understand contracts. Sometimes they can be a little formulaic, but in general it's quite understandable because they're very standard, if you will, very average. With that being said, something happened recently with a company, again, still an ongoing discussion, so I won't disclose the name of the company right now, but I might if I make a follow-up video depending on how the situation evolves. But I was working with an agency, and this agency has been talking to me, and then they sent a contract, and they were supposed to kind of help me find more sponsors, which is always something nice. But then I didn't like the way they were writing their contract. And one of the sections being a section where they were asking me to give them the credentials of access to my channel. Of course I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sign that. Why are you even asking? I know most of you are probably thinking scam. No, it wasn't a scam. I checked, it wasn't a scam. But they were asking for that. Now they said, they clarified, no, that's not what we meant. We just meant we wanted access to, like admin access, so that we wouldn't have complete control over the channel, but we could see your analytics so that we can help price your sponsorship slots. So when you put it that way, then I suppose I'd be okay with it. But then again, they sent a changed version of the contract, and I still didn't like it because it still was too generic. They were asking to have admin rights, and admin rights is too much of an umbrella terms when it comes to the actual YouTube guidelines. What they really needed to ask is for viewer limited. That's what it's called. When you call it admin, you make it too broad. And remember, a contract is a legally binding document. Stuff that doesn't need to be legally binding shouldn't be there, at least to me, which is why I told them I wasn't comfortable signing it that way. They said, well, sorry, we changed it too much already, we don't want to change it more, and so that was the end of it. Maybe, I don't know, we're still discussing, maybe we will come to an agreement, but until they write it exactly how I like it, to the letter, even if there is just one word that I'm not comfortable with, I will not sign it. And I strongly suggest you, if you're a content creator thinking to do stuff like that, don't feel pressured to sign stuff that becomes legally binding, because then it can be used against you and you do not want any trouble. I'm not saying that this is what this company was trying to do. I in fact believe that they weren't, and they weren't gonna do anything. But still, if something is on the document, then in theory you could do something about it or use it in a little bit of a weird way. So I say remove it completely from the contract and then we talk. So at the end of this probably little long-winded message, the one thing that I would like to take home, the one point that I would like to draw, some people in the comments during this demonetization situation have accused me of being someone who makes a lot of money through sponsorships, and so it was absurd that I was complaining about losing AdSense money since I was already making so much money through sponsorships. But one thing that kind of pisses me off is when people talk without having any notion or actual knowledge of what they're talking about. They're just trying to discredit me, but they don't know. They have no access to such information. Now, given the channel is successful, I do have sponsors. I have had sponsors over the years. But also one thing that these people don't know, because I've never said it publicly before today, the amount of sponsors that I have refused, and I do refuse on a monthly basis. If you could see the final number in the thousands of dollars that I have refused from the first time when I decided to implement a fair basis of acceptance regulations, shall we say, when it comes to working with brands, if you could see that number, I don't think these haters would really have a leg to stand on. Because if I really was all about money and making money, I would have said yes to every single sponsor that ever entered that door, metaphorically speaking. Another thing I refuse on my channel is dedicated videos, in the sense that I will not make a full-on video, although I've been asked, and usually those are paid higher than smaller integrations, but I automatically say no, because my approach to this is that of a watcher, of a regular viewer. I hate videos that I feel like they're a 17 minutes long ad. I prefer to have an ad that is like 60, 90, maybe 2 minutes, 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes long maximum. The rest of the videos are regular content that the person is clicking to watch. I'm just saying that's what I do because I find them annoying. But is it inherently wrong to work with a sponsor? And the reason why I'm saying this is because there are some people that get offended with the idea that creators like me can have a sponsor on their videos. And of course they get offended by the fact that we receive money as compensation of the slots that we allocate to said sponsors. Now honestly, I don't think that in a general sense there is anything wrong with having a sponsor on your channel, and for many creators sponsorships are in fact the main source of income. And also I think it's kind of weird that some people get offended that YouTubers get paid for what they do, because I mean at the end of the day you don't go to a waiter in a restaurant and tell him, oh, you should do what you're doing for free. I'm offended by the fact you're getting a compensation for your work. Still, even though I don't think there's anything wrong with the very concept of having a sponsor, I do think that there is a very important aspect when it comes to sponsorships, and that is due diligence. Now occasionally sponsors contact the YouTuber directly, but in most cases you are contacted by an agency that acts as a middleman between multiple creators and a sponsor, we'll refer to as the client. Now once the first contact is made, when it comes to me, the first step is to make sure that it's not a scam or a hacker impersonating a sponsor. It's actually quite a complicated process, I don't want to walk you through the entire thing, but you always look for red flags, and in my case whenever they send PDFs, which unfortunately they have to, because oftentimes we have to either read and sign a contract and also receive a brief. And I believe a good practice is to use a dedicated machine that is isolated in the sense that it's not connected to your YouTube channel, PayPal, because you don't want to have the same problem that Linus Tech had. Now after you've done that, it's time for the actual due diligence. So this is a sort of a make or break it moment for me. I go through a process of research, which is what people usually assume all YouTubers go through anyways, although not everyone does it. You basically research the brand, see if it could be a good fit for your channel. For example, at this moment, everything language related is directly moved onto my second channel, Metatron Academy. You look for possible controversy, read customer reviews, try to have an idea of public opinion on the brand. It can be a lengthy process. And sometimes during this process, which happens before we discuss fees, is when I decide, no, sorry, I'm not working with you. But on the other hand, I also thought it was important to talk a little bit about sponsors and maybe make sure that we YouTubers, even though again I don't think there's anything wrong with working with sponsors, that we YouTubers take responsibility and understand that whether we like that word or not, and I particularly dislike it, but we are all influencers up to a certain level. And therefore, the way you influence people, I say, regardless of what money you can make off it, make sure you influence them for good. It needs to be a win-win. You get a little bit of money that helps you support the show, the person is happy with whatever deal that they're getting or specific percentage off or what have you. It needs to be win-win, not win-lose. Alright noble ones, well I hope that you enjoyed this little informal talk. I've got a massive video, been weeks that I've been working on it in the making, that will come very soon, so make sure to stay tuned so you never miss an upload. And if you're not yet members of this community, become a noble one. Subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. And remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.